A very good afternoon to our listeners and our viewers once again. It's the 11th of July, 2018, exactly 11 days into the second half, into the month of July. And our prayer on the show, as has always been, is that God bless our homeland Ghana and definitely make our nation great and strong. On this note, we welcome all of you, our cherished listeners and our viewers once again to your favorite business development program on radio, Masterclass. Masterclass is powered by Joy Business and brought to you by Vodafone. The future is exciting, ready, and Access Bank, speed, service, and security. This program airs every Wednesday from 1:15 p.m. and runs all the way through to 2 p.m. here on your superstation Joy 99.7. My name is Yabanafo, and I am your host for the show today. And so last week we were here in the studio talking about insurance. For those of us who were able to listen and make a date with us, we're talking about insurance. And in insurance, we're talking about the relevance of insurance to your business, the relevance of insurance to you as an entrepreneur. Today we continue in that discussion right here, and back in the studio with us is the Chief Operating Officer of Midas Insurance Brokers in the person of Mr. Eric Adomensa. Mr. Eric Adomensa. Eric Adomensa is an insurance practitioner and has worked in insurance for over 30 years and also as a broker for the last 10 years plus. And so he does have some experience in the field of insurance. Today we'll be opening the phone lines a bit early so that you can join us and share your thoughts, ask your questions. We had a few questions we were not able to answer last week. By all means, if you're listening today, we'd like for you to take note and then join us in the show as soon as we open the phone lines. You can also begin to send your comments ahead of us opening the phone lines. You can do that on 0244 340 437. That's 0244 340 437. Today we want to be able to focus a bit on a particular area of insurance, and that's the area of cyber insurance. I'm sure you've heard about it. You've heard about hacking. You've heard about people getting into your system when you don't want them to. You've heard about people stealing your information. Here on the show, we've talked about data and the power of information. People can get into your systems and steal your information and use it for whatever they need to. A few examples I'm sure we'll have here on the show about people who have lost data in that way, people whose systems have been broken into and money has either been moved or data has been moved or information has been moved. How do you protect yourself against things like that? The world is becoming a global market. Today, people prefer to chat on their phones and spend more time on their phones than they will. If you went to a bus stop today and you went to a party and the pleasantries were done and everybody was waiting to be conducted to the serving table, you would have, if you had 10 people on that table, they would prefer to all be on their phones instead of talk to each other on the table. And when the argument was made with one of our resource persons, CEO of Rankard, what he said was that, but they're not connecting with the 10 people at the table, but they're connecting with 10,000 other people in the world. So people want to be on their phones. People are spending more time there, but which also means that more value is being put in that space. More money is being put in that space. Today we talk about bitcoins. We talk about softwares. We talk about being able to do push and pull. You can make a whole transactional payment on your phone. You don't need to walk into the banking hall. But if all that is available here in that cyberspace, then it also comes with a form of risk. Because the people who are looking for your information or your money or whatever valuable thing you've put in that space will come into that space to try and take it away from you. And that's where cyber insurance comes in. We're going to be talking about that in a very short while. But Eric, I can't help going back to that first quote you gave. I think this was an unknown quote because I don't know who gave that quote. It says that insurance, and this is basically the principle of insurance, that it falls lightly when it falls on many. I remember you said that at the beginning of the show. Just for the benefit of our listeners who have missed out on the first couple of shows, what was that principle about?
Yeah, the principle is basically that when you have a lot of people contributing monies into a pool, if anyone loses any item that they have insured against, the cost of replacement goes onto the pool. It falls on all the contributors to the pool and not just on the individual who has lost his item, and therefore it falls lightly on the individual when it's through an insurance policy. Right.
So essentially, it's the contribution of many, which is able to come together and help out when you are in need. This is after you've actually insured your property. And I think we also did say, by way of recap, that insurance is for the purpose of restoration.
Right. To put you in the same position
that you were before the calamity occurred.
Right.
However, life insurance is slightly different.
Life insurance.
And this is different how?
in the sense that you can actually take as many policies as possible, and you can decide how much you want to insure your life for. So you are not being put in the same position. I mean, well, of course, you're already gone. So, but you have decided that this is the amount of money that I want to be made available to my dependents when I'm done. So that is a matter of choice, and not what the we're not putting you in the same kind of position. So you're not being given the same value, but depending upon.
I suppose it would be fair to say that insurance cannot restore life.
No, it wouldn't.
In which case, that's why you're allowed to take as many as possible, so that you can then sort of give some respite, if you like to call it that, to your surviving dependents.
Right.
Today, we want to focus on cyber insurance.
Okay.
So we're going to give you a few minutes to go at it. Just talk to us. Give us all the information that you can about cyber insurance, and then we'll open the phone lines and engage us as usual. What is Perhaps you'd like to break it into two. I mean, we've talked about insurance. We know what insurance is. What is cyber? What is that all about?
Okay.
Why must we insure it? What are the risks that exist within that space?
Okay.
As an entrepreneur, I've gone to the bank. I've borrowed at 25, 30%, and I've put my business together. I've probably bought a software. Maybe I'm a shop owner, and I import drinks, and I sell them. And I've got, let's say, 20 containers of drinks I'm supposed to sell. You walk into my shop and you get any drink you want. There's a software that manages that. Why is it so important to be able to protect myself against somebody getting into that system?
Okay.
Yeah. So talk to us about cyber insurance.
All right. I will take this purely from the insurance point of view, because I'm not an expert in computers and in information technology. But as we know, the way we do business has changed. As you said earlier, today people do all kinds of transactions on their phones. You send money to your relations on the phone. A lot of bank transactions also do take place on the cyberspace. And so there's a lot of information that is flowing to and fro. And therefore, it is important to secure yourself against hackers and people who will want to take advantage of the space, the cyberspace, to defraud you or to take away your money. In recent times, the Bank of Bangladesh, for example, lost almost $80 million because somebody had infiltrated their system and had watched how they transact their business. When they realized that everything was okay for them, they started taking monies from the Bank of Bangladesh. Before they realized, they had taken as much as 80 million. Now, what cyber insurance has done is to try to come to the aid of financial institutions in the same way as we all take insurances to protect our businesses. Cyber insurance is developed to tackle the problems that come with cybercrime. Now, so cyber insurance is actually a product used to protect businesses and individual users from internet-based risks, and more generally from risks relating to information technology. So if someone is able to get into your systems and steal, say, the identities or the bank, the credit card details of your customers, they can actually use those bits and pieces of information to take money from those people. So when that happens, there are a number of issues that come up. First and foremost, we call something called first-party costs. When somebody breaks into your system, you first of all have to do forensic investigations, repair and prevention from the reoccurrence of the event. This may involve the services of a third-party security firm. So the policy then provides you with this cyber security firm that will do these investigations and ensure that they know where the thing came from. Whatever damage that has been caused also to your system, they will do that repair and then ensure that they make your system such that these things cannot recur again. So that is the job of the cybersecurity firm that they bring. Then there is also the business losses. Once they've broken into your system, sometimes you are not able to operate for a while. By the time all these things are, by the time your systems are repaired and you are able to resume business, you would have lost some amount of business in the meantime. So how do you then recover? So losses occurring as a result of your network downtime, that will also be covered by this particular policy. Business interruption, because you were not able to operate, it is going to show in your financials. So that also will be covered by this policy. Then you have data loss recovery. You need to have that also being, you have to recover your data which has been lost. And you may also have to manage a crisis which will involve your reputation being damaged. So this also is covered under this cyber insurance policy. There is also the third part of it, privacy and notification. Now, this one includes the costs incurred in notifying clients, customers, or affected parties of a data breach. In fact, this is a legal requirement in many countries that whenever there is a data breach, everybody that is involved or that is affected has to be informed. So the cost of doing all that is also borne or covered by this cyber policy. In some cases, there are, you see, the way the hackers would try to create problems for you is not only just stealing information. Sometimes they come with extortion. Your systems are shut down and you are asked to pay a certain amount of money before the system will be to be restored for you to be able to operate. Then there are also legal expenses incurred with regards to releasing confidential information and intellectual property, and legal settlements and regulatory fines. Now, this comes under the heading of lawsuits and extortion. Whenever there is a data breach, sometimes you are fined. In fact, the Data Protection Act in Ghana actually provides, gives you a certain amount of fines if you breach data. Now, at this moment, I think in the EU, they have a new GDPR, or General Data Protection Regulations, which came into effect on the 25th of May. Under that, if you are in breach of data, you are fined a total of 4% of your annual output, or a minimum of 20 million. Today, for example, it is reported that Facebook has been fined £500,000 by the UK's data watchdog for the role that they played in releasing data to Cambridge Analytica. Under the new GDPR rules, this fine would have been $1.6 billion. So it is a huge amount. So those are the things that the insurance policy will cover. And so it is important. Now, this is a particular policy which I think at the moment there is one insurance company that is writing it. I may be wrong, but I know one company that writes it. But it is available on this market. And I think that for all of us who use data, who use the cyber information technology, we are all at risk. Now, sometimes people ask themselves, how does that affect me? It affects everybody. If you're sending money by mobile phone and somebody intercepts it, your father in the village can be a victim to that. You and I are easy victims as well. As long as we use data and we get onto our computers and send information up and down, we are susceptible to these crimes, and therefore it is important that we should look at cyber insurance more seriously, because I don't think that this is something that we are discussing properly in this country at all. There is one particular policy that I am very much aware of, and it's one of the best policies on the market at the moment, not only in Ghana but in Lloyd's. They call them, in fact, they say that they insure, they protect, and they defend. What they do is, it is a three-part policy. The first part is the insurance part of it. So that is done through a Lloyd's broker. The protection is another company which sits there and ensures that whatever your systems are doing, they can actually be looking into. And if there is any attacks that are coming in, they can then repel those attacks, or they can actually inform you so that you take the necessary steps to stop those attacks from becoming reality. And then you have the defense aspect, which is where they'll be sitting there, they will be defending, they'll be counseling you, they will be there to manage your crisis and then plan and so on and so forth. So that's what it is, what cyber insurance is all about, and it is important that we all should be looking at it.
Right, right. Lots of information right there. If you've just tuned in, you're live on your superstation, Joy 99.7. Time check in the studio, 36 minutes past the hour of 1. And we're here in the studio discussing insurance, and your business, insurance and you. Today we're focusing a bit on what we call cyber insurance. Cyber insurance, what's all that about? Why must we even have insurance regarding that cyberspace? And essentially the discussion that we've had in summary is that since a lot of our activities today, even as businessmen or even as individuals, transcend within the space of the internet or within that intangible space we call cyber, there is therefore the need for us to be able to have some kind of protection for ourselves or even for our businesses within that space. Imagine that, for example, today it's easy to do an MTN money transfer. It's very easy today. So somebody owes you money, you give them a call, they say, I'm going to do a push and pull and send you the money. Imagine that you're moving money from your bank account to your MTN wallet. And then you see the transaction done, debit hits your account, but the money doesn't hit your wallet. It becomes an issue of reconciliation for whichever bank you're involved in. If you work in that bank, you're able to get them to do it quickly. If you do not work in that bank, or you do not work there, or you don't know anybody who works there, that becomes something that can take anything from 1 day to 2 weeks or 1 month or forever to fix. But you need the money to make that payment because someone else is waiting for it on the other side. Assuming you do the MTN transfer and the money doesn't get to the other side. I know the service providers will say that it will always get there because of brand protection. I know. And they do their bit to make sure it gets there. But mistakes do happen. And these are systems we're talking about. What happens or what protection do you have? And that's what we're talking about. What else do we do in that space? We chat a lot. And Eric, that's one thing that's very important to me. You know, we're talking before we came on the show, we're discussing this issue about data and the power of data. You've just given us an example of Facebook just this morning having been fined £500,000 pounds. That is 500,000 pounds sterling. Yeah. British pounds. I mean, I'm even beginning to calculate it in my head. What's a pound to the CD today? I think it's some 6 CD, eh?
Yeah, 6.
So you can begin to imagine 300, the next one 300,000.
3 million.
3 million actually, you know.
3 million CD.
Why do you pay that money as a fine when you could have just avoided it? And why would they put themselves in a position where they can pay that money? Because of the power of the data. Yeah. And here we're talking about the fact that they actually gave data to Cambridge International. Analytical. What is the power of the data you know, and I always say this, that I think we can also be the first line of insurance for ourselves. Why do some of us live our lives in that space when we don't have to? Already the world has created systems where you can't avoid it. Yeah. So, for example, if you're on email, you're already in the cloud. Yeah. If you're on any form of social media, you're already on the cloud. Yeah. But sometimes things that are not necessary. I mean, people put also, they are created for a purpose.
Right.
But I think we abuse it. People take pictures of themselves when they are even brushing their teeth.
Yeah, I think
What that does is that anybody who is looking for Eric Adomensa must just find Eric Adomensa's behavior on social media for 1 month, and they know that on a basis of probability, Eric is going to eat rice and granule soup this afternoon.
Exactly.
You see, we take it for granted, but human beings are creatures of habit.
Definitely.
We're talking about insurance, but I'm saying that before you go out there and make that payment on premium, check yourself.
Sure.
We are the first line of insurance. The things that you do on a Monday to Friday, if you put a camera on yourself, you find that there's a trend.
Sure.
So somebody just needs to monitor you for 1 month, and they know who you are.
That is correct.
And I think there was this social experiment done on social media where somebody just decided to pick on 1 or 2 people online. And so they walked into a bar. They followed them and with the camera and everything. And they walked into a bar and they said, so they know Eric. And Eric is in the midst of his friends because Eric plays tennis on Tuesdays. But Eric has a dog called, let's say, Lulu. And Lulu has just been to the vet. So he walks to the minister and says, Eric, how are you doing? How was the visit to the vet yesterday? Is Lulu doing well? And you're thinking, how does he know all that? He must know me.
Yeah, he doesn't.
So I'm saying that let us also not put too much on social media.
I think that is very important.
I don't know if that's even helpful to the discussion at all, Eric.
Well, that's the general, for the generality of our lives and everything. Because I think we expose too much on Facebook's, and social media actually takes so much information from you without you knowing. And basically what happened with things like the Cambridge Analytica thing, they took people's data. They knew what they liked. They knew their political beliefs. They knew their religion. They knew a whole lot. And so this was sold to companies and to political parties, for their election. Because knowing a certain group and what they prefer, you can actually feed them with that kind of information, bombard them with information that will make you change your mind. I mean, if they're telling you that the person that you are going to vote for is not good enough, is a criminal, they've done this, they've done that, and so on and so forth. After some time, when you are fed with so much of this information, you might decide to change your mind. Or if you are undecided and they have that information that you are undecided, you don't belong to any of the major political parties, they can feed you with information that will
or let's even say that you are a highly religious person or you like fish and they say that, I'm just trying to use an example that's abstract so that nobody says I'm picking on them. Let's say you have a thing for fish and let's say you are let's say a nature conservationist and this person in the past has done some things that has affected fish in a particular part of the world. And so you have an aversion for people who act against fish. That's valid, that's information. Anybody who wants to get into your head and make you dislike somebody will use fish.
No, so I think that we need to realize that data is powerful.
But let's come back to the crux of the discussion. I mean, the thing is that we're in business, and so you cannot avoid putting your data out there. You cannot avoid the systems you use, the information you're using. Once you're connected to the internet, it's available to everybody.
Sure.
Who offers that service in Ghana today in terms of insurance companies? And maybe I should just open the phone lines while we're doing this so that if our listeners want to contribute, they can do that. If you want to reach us, contribute to this conversation, you can give us a call, 0302-216-541. That's 0302-216-541. Give us a call. Let's share your thoughts. What has your experience been in terms of insurance as a general discussion? And then in terms of cyber insurance, do you have any stories? Have you heard anything that has happened to someone else? How can we protect our businesses? How can we protect our information? How can we protect ourselves? Give us a call on 0302-216-541. Let's hear your thoughts. You can send us a comment as well on 0244-340-437. That's 0244-340-437. Eric, who offers cyber insurance cover today in Ghana? Which companies do?
Well, I know for a fact that Allianz Insurance offers this cover. It covers all the things that we've talked about, the investigation, liabilities, where you're looking at confidentiality breach, transmission of malicious code from computer systems to a third party, extortion, and then the response. How do you actually make sure that somebody comes to your aid to be able to put you back in the same position that you were before? We talked about the fact that you may be asked to pay fines, like regulatory fines, and so on and so forth. So these are all done. These are all provided by the Allianz Insurance cyber policy. What they do, however, is before you can actually sign on to the policy, they need to bring their own cybersecurity experts to come and sit with you for a number of days to go through your processes, to see how secure your systems are. And if they find any issues where they think that you need to strengthen this place or strengthen that side and so on and so forth, they will give you that information and assist you to do that. It is when you have attained that level of, or you have passed the test that they've set you, then they can go ahead and look at your system. They can look at how much you want to insure for before they provide you with that cover. Because they don't want to sort of take on anything, and then just say because of the money or the premium, we'll just write anything. No, they want to make sure that you yourself, you are certain or you are conscious of the risk that you face and that you are actually doing enough to protect yourself, so that insurance becomes, something that you fall on should those securities that you have in place be breached.
Right. So they're not. So these companies are not primarily interested in just hiking up the premium and saying that the higher your risk, the higher your premium you pay. They're actually interested in bringing you up to a certain minimum basic level of, let's say, operation. Yeah. At which point they're sure as experts that on a base of probability you are protected.
You are protected
at a certain basic level.
That is correct.
But beyond that, there are people who will go beyond that to try and still hit your systems.
Sure.
It is beyond this point that they will now offer. Do any of our state insurance companies offer this service as well? Is this a common thing in Ghana?
No. It isn't.
Cyber insurance is not common in Ghana.
It's not common. It's not common. In fact, it is not even very common, worldwide. It's evolved in the last probably 10 years. And every year, when we go to conferences, this is something that comes up. Every country that has tried to have this, well, they've introduced in almost every country, but there is always difficulty in getting people to understand that this is a real issue. Everybody thinks, I'm not, going to be affected, so I'm not interested. Or the other issue, which in some of these conferences have been the issue, is the resistance from chief information security officers who don't want people to see exactly what they are doing. This is what at the conferences some of them have complained about, but that is the issue. It's still evolving because the risks keep changing. Today there is this, tomorrow there's another kind of virus, or there's another method of hacking into your systems and so on. So we're changing, it's changing every now and then. They are adding things, they are taking things out, and so on and so forth. So it's still an evolving thing, and I'm not sure that I'm not aware of any other company that's actually writing this business seriously. And I suppose that's one of the reasons why today we're talking about it.
Right.
It is important, and as I've said before in other, some companies are suffering from, and it's not only companies. I think a few years ago, somebody came up with figures of how much money had been siphoned out of this country by cyber criminals, and it was in the millions. So it is something that is real, and therefore we should look at it and see how we protect ourselves. Because if we have that protection, and somehow they're able to evade all the securities and they breach our systems, whatever we lose, the insurer will, give it back. So.
Right, time check in the studio, 49 minutes past the hour of 1. If you've just joined us, this is Masterclass here on your Superstation, and we're discussing the issue of insurance. We started that discussion a couple of weeks ago. Today we continue, but we're dwelling on the area of cyber insurance. How safe are the systems that you're using at work? How safe are those payroll systems you're using? How safe are those systems you're using in that school? Will the students be able to be smart enough to hack into your system to change their grades? In some of the state universities in this country, that happened. I don't want to mention any names. That happened a couple of years ago. People are getting smarter by the day. These kids that are coming up today are getting smarter because they're living most of their lives on the internet. Give us a call on 0302-216-541. Tell us your own story of a hack that you've heard about, or people getting to somebody's system, or even just a misuse of systems affecting business, because we're talking about data. The thing that sits in those systems is information, and without the information, that's your money going down the drain as a businessman. What systems do you have? What protection do you have? What protection do you require? If you're hearing this for the first time and you want to ask questions, where do I get help? Pick up that phone, give us a call on 0302-216-541. This is Masterclass here on your Superstation, and we'll give you answers to those questions. Eric, I wanted to find out, since this is not so common here in Ghana, so I'm an entrepreneur and I'm listening to the show today, and I'm saying that I need help.
Yeah.
Who do I go to?
You can talk to your broker,
okay,
or you can go to Allianz, as I've mentioned, and they will be able to help you.
Or they can come to Midas?
You can come to Midas.
Okay, so can we put the Midas number out again?
Yes, you can always call me on 024-975-0895.
Okay, so that's 024-975-0895. That's the number for Midas Insurance Brokers. They have been here on the show with us for the last couple of weeks, talking to us about insurance in all of its forms and shapes. Now, there's this question I've always wanted to ask, Eric. When you talk about cyber insurance, it sounds like something that's amorphous, something that's without form or without shape, something that has many points of failure. What would the insurer be looking at to determine my premium, for example?
Okay. The major component or determinant would be your security systems. Because if I want to insure you, I want you to at least have some minimum protections. So if you have gotten all those minimum protections, I know where to rate you. Excuse me. If you have not gotten those protections, I know where also to rate you. In fact, I might decide not to decline to insure you completely. But if you've also had your systems beefed up, the security beefed up such that it is way above what I am looking for, then I also look at that to give you the rate. So your preparedness, your security systems that you have, all those things will be taken into consideration in determining the premium that you pay. And then, of course, the amount that you want to insure for is also important. If you're insuring for, let's say, 50 million Ghana cedis, it will be different from somebody who will be insuring a lesser amount, obviously. But it will all depend on, if you had the same protections, then 50 million will obviously be higher than the one who's insuring for 10 million. So you're sum insured. And,
right. I'm just trying to bring this home a lot more closer to our listeners. If I'm an entrepreneur, I've just started a business. Let's say that I sell coconut water. And I have a system that keeps my stock. And so my sales are in there, and I'm able to check what goes in, what comes out. And that becomes my bookkeeping process. What kind of protection would I require? Would this be too much for me at this point in my business? Or is there a level I need to get to warrant this kind of cover?
I think that, like we say, I've been talking to a number of organizations outside, and they think that nobody is too small to insure. But I think also that per the example that he gave, it will be difficult to get an insurer to do that kind of business with you. Today, or as we're talking now, the cyber insurance that we're looking at, you're looking at somebody whose systems are such that they can actually make, if you bring in experts to come and actually look at their systems to verify whether they are good enough for your cyber insurance, you need that kind of volume. But if you're looking at somebody with one laptop,
so volume of business is important to determine the amount of cover that is required. So for example, if I'm running, let's say, a mart, and my turnover for a month is about, let's say, 100,000 Ghana cedis, or let's say 200,000 Ghana cedis in profits, not in revenue. This would be something that I should look at.
You can look at it. You can look at it. Because, I mean, I've been asked, for example, that my company should be taking out a policy. And so they are asking me to call, or in fact, they want to call, and then we can discuss and see how much cover that I need. I don't know, but it's something that has been brought to me.
Okay, so I've got Ivy on social media from Tema. Ivy says, take the example Eric gave. I'm actually going through a similar problem. I mistakenly transferred money from my, okay, he mentions the name of a bank. I don't want to mention it. Mobile app to a wrong mobile number. I've been to Airtel Tigo to reverse the transaction. I provided my bank details with my bank with the necessary details to assist them to process my money back. But it's been almost 2 months now. I haven't received my money. So what does Ivy do in that case? As an individual, is there any kind of protection available also? I mean, when it comes to
in this particular case, I think she just has to go to the people who did the transaction, because they should. In fact, most of the mobile companies who do all these transfers, they should be having this cyber insurance. It is very, very important that they should have them. As to whether they have them or not, I'm not aware, and I cannot say, But this is something that definitely has to be taken up by the mobile companies, so that when these things happen, they can actually claim from the insurers.
So now, what we're saying is that cyber insurance cover is available for businesses.
Basically, yes.
As an individual, because I'm asking this question because now they're pushing this thing out there. When I say they, I'm talking about companies and systems and telcos, and we're pushing this agenda that says that your life can be a lot more simpler. Your life can be a lot more simpler. You can sit at home and do all your transactions, X, Y, Z. What is a protection for me as a consumer?
Yeah.
Is there any twin cover that is available for me as a consumer, that when I pick up my phone and I do that transaction, if something goes south, I'm covered?
Yeah, I think that one, for now, we're not having these policies for individuals to take. It is rather for the companies, so that when individuals who suffer losses go to them for to rectify the issues for them, they can then fall on their insurance companies to provide them with the claims that these people are putting on them. But it's not for individual, because how do you I have a mobile phone and I want to take out a cyber policy. We haven't got into that yet. For now, it's more for organizations, financial institutions.
But do you think that it's a market that may be very well a good market for insurance in the future?
You mean for the individuals?
Yeah. Because, I mean, if a lot more people are saying, look, if I have 100 IVs who are saying that at one point or the other, I've done a transaction online, or I've done a transaction here and I've been scammed. I mean, let's not even talk about credit cards. There are loads of that happening. People say somebody entered my account and moved money. Individuals. You know, sometimes you hear people say that there's been a debit on my account. You go and do the investigation, and the transaction happened in some country. I don't want to mention. You are sitting in Ghana and some country across West Africa. Somebody has hit your account.
So
the companies, you can go back to the company and make a claim. But I'm saying that as an individual, without going through the bureaucracy and red tape of dealing with the company, what protection can I have? At this point, I'm helpless. That's not very nice. Anyway, in 10 seconds, let's do a quick recap of what we talked about today. Next week we continue this discussion, but next week we're dwelling a bit more on the role of a broker. So next week we're gonna be summing up. Right. Okay. Thank you so much for tuning in today and joining us. This has been Masterclass here on your Superstation. Next week we're back on your radio again with more information on insurance. By all means, do take a listen and join us. Thank you for listening today.